Hey, this is Frank.
And this is Dan. We just wanted to talk to you really quickly before we start the show about Joyride, our Joyride campaign.
Yeah, we're looking to raise a little bit of money on the Joyride platform. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And we're trying to fix up the show, you know.
It's going to be better. It's going to be faster. It's going to fix your diseases.
We have the technology.
we can rebuild it. But we need your help. So if you would... Dear listener, if you haven't already, please consider donating to our show. Go to thankgodimatheist.com and then click on the Joyride button. It's right on the right-hand side of the screen.
You can't miss it.
It's right there. We've made it as easy as we know how to make it.
Yeah.
The girls are still well behind the boys.
Yeah, ladies.
So get on there, please. Go out and give us a little bit of money, and it'll help make the following happen.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
And coming up today, we're in the second half of the show, we're going to be talking about us dumb atheists and our bad arguments.
We're so bad
Oh.
at logic and reasoning and all of those things.
Just fail.
So
we fail.
We'll be discussing all of that, or at very least the Christian apologetics view of how bad we are.
What it is that we're trying to say.
Yeah.
And the arguments we make.
There have been a lot. I've noticed a lot of arguments out there, or a lot of articles out there about 10 atheist arguments that you can beat.
Right.
I'm like, oh, really?
Right.
And of course, yeah.
And then there's a fundamental misunderstanding
Of everything?
of the whole thing.
Pretty much everything.
Everything.
All right. So we'll discuss that down the road in today's podcast.
Indeed.
But for right now, I'm going to start with California. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's a state here in these United States.
It's a large one.
It's a big one.
They're running out of water, I heard.
Yeah. That's good. That's God trying to
He's not.
kill off a bunch of liberals.
He should be weeping, but he's not.
No, he's withholding his tears from them, just to get them.
Terrible.
The California Supreme Court has taken an interesting step, and I wanted to just sort of discuss it briefly. They are sort of in charge of the standards, the practices that each judge in California kind of has to follow.
Sure, yeah. Makes sense.
They are no longer allowed, judges of California are no longer allowed to associate themselves with the Boy Scouts.
Really?
Yeah.
On what grounds?
Well, as many of our listeners will know, the Boy Scouts of America is not friendly to you gay folk.
Okay, right. I knew that.
They're not, which is to say they actually will allow gay young men to be scouts, gay kids. But they will not allow gay adults to be associated with
that was their little baby step.
Right. And
toward being a decent organization.
And that one must have hurt like the Dickens. Like the Dickens. Well, now they're not going to so the judges are apparently not allowed to be associated as judges with groups that they could butt up against, or groups that are associated with concepts that they could butt up against in their judgery.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a conflict of interest question.
Okay.
And they have the Supreme Court of California has determined that one such group, because of their stance against gay people,
because they're a hate group.
Well, now, Frank, they are trustworthy. They are loyal,
brave,
helpful, friendly,
clean,
courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty,
brave,
clean, and reverent.
Yeah.
and hateful.
And hateful.
And a little bit hateful.
And jerks.
Just minorly hatey.
Yeah.
They're just a little bit hatey.
Well, how is this going over?
Well, you know, there's one judge. There's a lot of people are actually very okay with it. A judge, one judge, Robert Glusman, former president of the California Judges Association, he says, and that association supports this ban.
Okay.
He says, would a judge be able to join an organization where black men could not be part of the organization? I don't think that would be a close question. So,
right.
Yeah. That's an interesting, so that's a good point. However, Judge Julia Kelly said, the issue is whether individual judges can choose in their private lives to be involved in an organization that has tremendous qualities and provides tremendous support for young people. Mm-hmm. She said, I don't think that a person appearing in my court would think that I'm biased or unfair simply because I help my sons out in their Boy Scout troop.
How does Judge Joe Brown feel about this?
He and Judge Judy got into a fist fight. I don't know. I know little to nothing about the
celebrity TV judge thing.
Yeah, it's kind of exploded. There's too many of them. I can't keep track of all.
No, I know.
All of the TV judges.
Oh my goodness.
And they're really the only judges that matter in California. I mean, if something's not on
also the ones on The Voice, those ones matter.
Yes. I mean, come on.
But none of them can have anything to do with the Boy Scouts.
Right. Also on The Voice, they can't have anything to do with the Boy Scouts.
Well, why would you?
That's so yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting. It's a sign of progress. I would say.
It smacks. It has that je ne sais quoi of progress.
That certain flavor, that vague nuance in the air.
I don't know. Well, great, good.
Yep. So there you go.
I'm going to continue on with California.
Okay.
And with the gays.
Oh, good. Gays, they do have some there.
They do.
I've heard.
Yes. And so this is actually this is also a story of progress in California.
Good.
Amazing California. It's so sad you're going to dry up in a year. Let's see. So there's this large evangelical church in San Francisco called City Church. It's one of the largest members of the Reformed Church in America is the name of the denomination. And it's the largest evangelical church in San Francisco. And they have long welcomed their, LGBT brothers and sisters into their fold, as long as they remain celibate. It was that sort of that little bargain, that deal, right?
Welcome to our group,
but don't be who you are.
No gross, yucky poo-poo sex.
Gee, thanks, Tim. And but they've changed their tune.
Oh,
this group of evangelicals has decided that they're lifting that ban, that policy.
Oh,
it will change, and that they are now letting their LGBT members freely have sexual intercourse as much as they like. No, I don't know. I don't know if they're like saying that you still need to be married and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
the article doesn't
go
into that. Strangely, because that was one of my first questions.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting that this is also not unique in sort of these large urban evangelical congregations.
Oh no!
I guess back in January, Grace Point Church in Nashville, Tennessee, lifted their ban on gay sex.
Really?
And
in Tennessee, like in
Nashville.
In California, I'm like, well, okay,
no, it's Nashville.
All right,
it's got a pretty active gay community there. I was impressed with Nashville.
It's still Tennessee.
but it's Nashville. They've got a little strip, of little like gay bars and little, at least 10 years ago when I was there, little bookstore and little shops and whatnot. Far more sort of like a little gay little strip than we've got.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And then Seattle, they famously had another incident of this. The East Lake Community Church reversed their policy as well. So a very interesting trend when you see evangelical types becoming welcoming of LGBTs. I don't know why I said it that way. Members of the LGBT community.
I like saying that members of that community are LGBTs.
Yeah.
It's like saying the blacks. Look at all the blacks doing so well for themselves. And the LGBTs, they're doing so well too.
I like it too, but I've never heard it used disparagingly that way. So
right.
That's my new thing. I'm an LGBT.
Oh, you're mostly a G.
Mostly G. Of those 4 letters,
right?
I'm a G.
Yeah.
But it's that whole collective thing. Right?
Sure.
We have to stick together.
You're part of a group.
Yeah.
You're an LGBT.
I'm an LGBT. Yeah.
Well, speaking of you LGBTs, I'm gonna go. This is basically the same story, different people.
What?
But a much bigger group, the Presbyterian Church of the United States of America, has apparently announced that they are going to allow inclusion in their definition of marriage.
What?
Yeah. So
it's Presbyterian. It's not quacko conservative.
Yeah, but they're not like. They're also not
Unitarian.
They're not Unitarian. Yeah. Exactly. So apparently, they now have enough votes. I mean, the whole point of Presbyterianism is that they don't have like bishops and stuff to make their decisions for them. So they all have to get together and vote or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Amendment 14F is the official amendment that they were all voting on.
It will go down in history.
It will.
Remember the 14. What was it? 14F.
14F.
Remember the 14F.
Right. Not to be confused with an F-14, which is a totally different thing.
Completely do not confuse those two.
So anyway, apparently they are now. The language doesn't require Presbyterian ministers to perform these acts if they don't want to.
Oh, but it allows for.
But what it says is that marriage is between 2 people. That's all. That's what their language now says.
Oh. Interpret that how you may.
Yeah. However, you got to do it in your own thing.
Whatever.
Whatever. But I think the pressure's on. I think that what it's showing is that, like, I mean, this is the U.S. Presbyterian group. What do you call denomination?
Yeah, there you go.
This is their largest group of Presbyterians, and they're saying
we're fine with it.
We're fine with it.
You know what? We're okay
where it's legal, obviously. So they're not going to do it in those 9 or 10 states.
The remaining few
still haven't,
the holdouts,
until the Supreme Court goes ahead and makes it illegal across the land. Ha! You thought I was going to say legal, but I went the other way.
Then what will these churches do?
Yeah, I don't know.
What will City Church in San Francisco do
if they can't marry the gays?
Well, that's not theirs wasn't a gay marriage thing. It was just allowing them to be sexy,
to have sexy time.
Yeah,
sexy sex time. So yeah, I think that's pretty impressive. They needed to have a majority vote. Not all of the votes are in, but it's clear that they have enough to make it legit.
That's fantastic. Good for the Presbyterians. Yeah. I've always had an affinity for the Presbyterians.
Have you? I don't think you know anything about the Presbyterians.
I know that they I know that's where we went to that midnight mass.
We did
go midnight church service.
We did. We went to a church service, a Christmassy sort of thing.
Yeah.
When we were back when I could still talk Frank into going into setting foot in a church.
Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. Not again, folks.
So
I don't like it.
Well, yeah, that's the point.
But I like the Presbyterians. I'd go back to Presbyterian.
There's nothing wrong with Presbyterians other than the sort of normal thing.
There's a sort of normal, bland Protestant thing that they've got going on.
The Presbyterians. The Boarditarians.
It did seem a little bit that way. Yeah.
Boring.
But better than Mormon church.
Oh, almost anything is less boring than Mormon church. Like if Buddhist practice was just sitting in a room for an hour quietly, that's less boring than Mormon church.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a third the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah, a Quaker session where nobody stands up.
Great.
Better.
Great. It's all better than Mormon church.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Oh, do I have to?
Oh, please do.
All right. This is an interesting one. BYU, Brigham Young University.
Sure. Here in our fair state.
Beautiful Provo, Utah. Mm-hmm. Actually, the town is nothing to look at, but those mountains.
Stunning.
Jesus Christ.
Stunning.
Yeah. So there is a group of BYU graduates who are getting together to push during this round of accreditation reviews for BYU they're pressuring actually the what is it? Department of Education? Is that through whom these things get done? Anyway, they're pushing for them to stop kicking out Mormons who lose their faith while attending at BYU.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they just started doing that. Didn't they just make that an official policy?
No, they always have. So the deal is you don't have to be Mormon to go to BYU, even though the vast majority of people who are at BYU are Mormon.
The vast majority.
But if you are a member of that small minority that does not, that is not Mormon when you enter the school,
right?
You're still fine. You're fine, but you still have to go through, you have to jump through these little hoops of having an ecclesiastical endorsement annually where you get together with your clergy, not a Mormon bishop, as the Mormon students have to. But you get your Mormon clergy or your non-Mormon clergy, whoever it is, to sign off this ecclesiastical endorsement that says that you're a good kid. And to the best of their knowledge, you're not violating the honor code of BYU. Okay. So, and that's basically it, But there's always been this policy that if you enter BYU as a Mormon, you cannot leave Mormonism you can't leave Mormonism or talk about the fact that you are wanting to or whatever, without being kicked out.
Yeah, they'll get you.
Because you can't, because this ecclesiastical endorsement that everybody has to do.
Right.
If they see you tick, away from Mormonism, then boom, that's the mechanism and you're out.
You're gone.
And then there's no question asked. Right. It's just, you're done, you're out. Boom.
Yeah.
So this group of grads is pushing to change that. They feel that it is unfair, and that it creates a setting that is not exactly welcoming to academic or intellectual freedom.
Well, yeah, that's what they're going for. The whole point is that.
Yeah, but they feel like they have a good argument. That perhaps the accreditors should make a little bit of an issue.
Oh, they're
going after BYU's accreditation.
The accreditation withdrawn
because they know they're not going to get anywhere with the administration at BYU. They're not going to change that.
No, the administration.
They love it. BYU is about retaining Mormons, not getting rid of them.
Right. Yeah.
and hopefully converting some of those non-members who show up,
which is totally never going to happen. Well, I don't know. There's this herd mentality thing that's pretty powerful.
But could you imagine being like
a non-Mormon
just showing up, going, "Hey, I've heard good things about BYU." You know,
they've got a good football team this year. Maybe I can go there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with athletics, that is where you see probably the majority of the non-members on campus. That would be my guess.
And all of the black people.
I don't know about all.
Like all.
Like 99.8%
of the black folks at BYU are going to be on a athletic scholarship.
Right. 11 out of the 12 that are there.
Of the 12, not 11 out of 12, but 11 out of the 12 black people that they have on campus.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty white.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. You know, I mean, BYU has largely always been criticized amongst certain groups of its student body. I know that when I was there for my little 3 semesters at BYU, that I had friends who, boy, they were just so critical,
just very active in criticizing their.
Yeah, well, there was an unofficial student newspaper called the Student Review, I think is what it was called. And a couple of these friends wrote for it and were heavily involved in that whole thing. And they would sort of satirize life on campus and the culture of BYU, and often also as well openly criticize. But it was published off campus, of course. And nobody. I don't remember there being a lot of names. I think there were pseudonyms.
Right, of course.
For all the writers.
Of course.
Because it had to be completely underground. I mean, that's BYU.
But knowing the BYU Gestapo, they knew.
Yeah, one of these friends, her sister, who was not a student at BYU, but who was just sort of down and sort of in that mix. My friend was a student at BYU. She decided that she wanted to march in the homecoming parade, and so they got everybody together and they got the permit and everything. And this friend of my friend, put on the frumpiest floral print dress she could find, and marched barefooted with a sign that said, "We'll work your way through college."
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems controversial. Oh my God.
Yeah, they didn't really like it there very much. Those two.
No. Yeah. There you go. Well, speaking of Mormons and their weird intolerant tolerance, they're very tolerant, but they do so very intolerantly.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to phrase it. One of the leaders of the Mormon Church, this isn't in BYU, but one of the leaders of the Mormon Church, one elder Todd Christofferson. They always have to have an initial somewhere.
Yeah.
The leaders of the Mormon Church.
It's very important. And it's best if it's an initial at the beginning.
Ooh, that's a special one.
Yeah. It adds a certain douchiness.
Yeah, we have a friend whose father was a general authority of the church, and we just called him F.
Right.
So this is D. I'm just going to call him D.
Okay.
D. Christ.
Okay.
He was asked about recently because there's been these excommunications lately.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Of dissenters.
Yeah. High profile
excommunications of high profile dissenters, including the one of the founders of Ordained Women.
Right.
That Kate Kelly.
Yeah.
She's a bit of an upstart.
Yeah.
A little uppity.
Very. I wouldn't say little.
Yeah.
She's very, very uppity.
Very uppity.
She does not know her place as a woman.
I mean, she's a sweet spirit, but she just doesn't understand the Lord's plan for her. Anywho,
it's really such a shame because those poor spirits waiting to be born.
I know.
That were hers, promised to her.
Right.
In her patriarchal blessing, which I guarantee you she was promised some spirits.
Some babies.
Some babies.
I don't know that she's not going to be a mom.
but that we're going to be born into the covenant.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's what's not going to happen.
She's now no longer covenanty. As is her compatriot or her comrade in arms, one Mr. John DeLynn,
right?
Who was an outspoken. He was a podcaster, and had a website that basically was an open forum, talking about flaws that he saw within the LDS Church. It makes sense to me for them to kick him out because he was openly I don't believe most of this shit, and it was just like, what the fuck are you still doing there then?
Yeah.
But she was clearly, I believe that she was sincere in her membership and her belief in the church,
right.
and it probably, and I'm sure it hurt her deeply to be excommunicated in the wake of these chilling excommunications.
Yes,
these moments where clearly the message the church has sent is, you must not campaign against us ever.
Right.
D. Christ was asked, are members allowed to be for gay rights publicly?
Oh no.
On the webs or whatever.
Someone dared ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Were they excommunicated?
They were instantly excommunicated and evicted from Utah.
Fast track excommunication.
No, and so his answer was interesting. He said, "Sure,
what?
You can hold beliefs even though they're different from what's taught."
What?
He says, quote, our approach in all of this, as Joseph Smith said, is persuasion. You can't use the priesthood and the authority of the church to dictate. You can't compel. You can't coerce. It has to be persuasion.
Oh, what a fucker. What?
Gentleness and love unfeigned, as the words in the scripture. He basically said, it's okay for you to express support for LGBT causes on your Facebook or whatever, but you can't join the groups that are actively against the church's policies.
Oh,
It's basically, he said, in our view, it doesn't really become a problem unless someone is out attacking the church and its leaders. If that's a deliberate and persistent effort and trying to get others to follow them or trying to draw others away, trying to pull people, if you will, out of the church or away from its teachings and doctrines.
Wow.
Wait, weren't you the one that was just talking about persuasion,
Yeah.
Mr. Christofferson?
Yeah. That's choice.
Apparently, the church leaders can persuade. The church members can only speak. You can have your opinion. You can even say your opinion.
Right.
But if you try and convince anyone else of your opinion, you're gone.
But where exactly is the line between saying what your opinion is and trying to change the opinions of others? Right? Like,
that line is for them to know and you to find out.
Because the expression of an opinion, well-stated opinion, can be highly persuasive all on its own.
Sure. I think that the main thing is, if you get their attention, you're in trouble.
So they're not trolling Facebook.
No.
But for individuals' comments, but they are trolling it for groups.
And if you organize a march around the temple or something...
Oh, you're done.
You're done.
You're toast.
Bye-bye.
No.
We don't need you anymore.
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Because that would be persuasive rather than just expressing your opinion.
He was also asked...
What if you just, as your means to express your opinion, you marched around Temple Square?
Nope.
What if that was the way you chose to express your opinion?
No.
You didn't say, and I'm not trying to persuade. You're holding a sign that says, I'm not trying to persuade anybody of anything.
However,
this is my opinion. And you walk and you march around Temple Square. Does that land you in hot water?
Do you get on the news?
Yes.
Then you're in hot water. If you got on the news, you're in hot water. If you don't make it onto the news, you're okay. You're okay.
So what if you got a bag over your head and you march around with the same sign?
Well, then you're just going to bump into people.
No, you cut little holes.
Oh, okay.
You just don't let people know who you are.
Well, then they can't get you.
But what if they came up and asked you your name?
That I wouldn't tell them. I just wouldn't tell them. He was also asked, by the way, right at the end, could there be a time when the LDS Church would change its position on gay marriage?
Oh, no.
Nope, he said.
I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait.
Famous last words.
15 years? How long? 15? 10? 20? What is it?
It's between 10 and 20.
Yeah.
And I can't... Things move faster now.
Yeah.
So it's harder to say.
So it's probably closer to 10
but
years.
They're still very old. Like all of the leaders of the LDS Church.
They're all about to die.
Well, so that's the question. How many of them can die how quickly? And that's the handicapping. I would have to do a full analysis before I could give you the over-under on when the LDS Church does gay marriage. I'm going to say, I put it far out. I put it at 20.
You think further. Okay.
In our lifetime, certainly.
I don't know. I think it's going to become, think about where the gay rights movement, where it was in 1995. Right.
Yeah.
And where it is 20 years later in this country. Think about what the LDS Church's stance 20 years ago.
Yeah. Right? Absolutely.
And how they were dealing with homosexuality.
Well, and the other thing that accelerates this process is that everybody, gay people are coming out now.
Right.
All the gay people are coming out.
Right.
So you don't get to have hidden gay people.
No.
So then when your son is gay, he tells you.
Right.
When your daughter's gay, she tells you. When your nephew, when your favorite nephew in the whole fucking world says, "Oh, guess what, Auntie? I'm gay."
Right.
You're going to reconsider your position on gay marriage.
Right.
And that's going to continue to happen. And also, like, not for nothing.
That's going to be happening in the families of general authorities, too.
Yes. And it is happening in their families. Yeah. And the other thing is that, like, gay marriage is going to be legal in the entire country.
Yeah.
This year, probably.
Right.
And then everyone's going to wait around for the hell to all break loose, and it will not. And then everyone will get bored about it.
Right.
And then it'll start to look really weird. Then everyone who's not doing it will soon start to look really weird. So the question is, when does it start to look really anachronistic?
10 years. I think in a decade.
Yeah, but
I think if they don't move in 10 years on the issue, if they don't figure something out, the problem is, and we've talked about this before, they have a very difficult theology to work with regards to gay marriage.
True.
Because it's not just a love union that they're working on here, right?
No. Yeah.
It's
they're in a
they're going to have to get very, there's going to have to be some peyote involved? Like, what's going to get...
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have a vision, like a real vision.
Well, that's what's going to happen, right? They're going to... Some president of the church is going to have, literally God is going to say to him, "It's okay now."
Well, I think this one takes a visit from God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jesus has to show up to tell the prophet what to do on this one.
Right.
So you got to have a prophet who's crazy enough
to do it,
and just liberal enough. No, it's actually going to be the craziest conservative of them all who's going to have the epiphany.
You know what? No, it's going to be something worse than that. It's going to be the businessiest one. It's going to be the one who all his life in business knew that he had to make compromises, and he made them all the time in business.
Right.
And he's just going to see the writing on the wall. He's going to understand why they're losing all of their members, and he's just going to go, "Okay, fuck it. We're just doing it."
So, okay. Because I was imagining somebody actually believing that they'd seen Jesus.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think there's still a few of those. I think your Boyd KK's.
You think
Boyd KKK? I think he's seen Jesus.
I don't. I'm just,
even if it's just in a dream, right?
Yeah, they could talk themselves into it, but I think those guys are all such bullshit. Who knows? Who knows what goes on in their wackadoo
that's
heads?
True. That's true, Dan.
Bunch of wackadoo guys. Anyway, you got one more?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
And this is this has to do specifically. I started looking at this bill that's up in Georgia. It's one of these freedom or religious freedom restoration acts, or RFRA. RFRAs?
Sure.
RFRA or RFRAs?
Oh, we love those.
What do you like better, RFRA or RFRA?
I like RFRA.
Okay.
Does the FRF involve themselves in the RFRAs?
Yeah. Yes. Anywho, it's a very interesting thing. This backlash against same-sex marriage and what it's bringing about on the state level.
Yeah.
Because it was back in the 90s that the federal RFRA passed.
Sure.
And that's what sort of laid the groundwork for the Hobby Lobby decision, right?
Yeah.
So now, but the thing about it was that it really didn't extend down into the states.
Okay.
Was sort of my understanding
right.
of a sentence that I read that said that. So that's why a number of these states are really conservative states are starting to do this. It's this fear that that same-sex marriage is somehow infringing upon their own, religious freedoms. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I know the couple, the cake, the wedding cake argument and the wedding photographer argument and all that, but it just doesn't seem like enough of a real issue to have this amount of backlash. But anyway, so Georgia is, they're poised at the moment to pass, perhaps the harshest of these.
Okay.
And it would allow discrimination, judicial obstruction, and possibly even domestic violence. All in the name of religious freedom.
Well, I guess the Bible does talk about
exactly
whipping,
and
you need a whooping.
They've worded theirs such that what they're saying is that the government cannot substantially burden a person's exercise of religion without a compelling government interest, and it has to be the least restrictive means of furthering that interest. Okay.
Sure.
So the exercise of religion, because of this, can be about any practice.
Right.
Okay. Whether or not they can actually tack it to a Bible verse or something that their broader community also believes.
So
anybody can make up any claim that they did it or didn't do whatever on religious grounds.
So if I just sort of decide out of the blue that my religion is that I walk around with my genitals hanging out,
you might be able to do that and get away with it.
Or they have to find the least intrusive accommodation for that belief that they can find.
Right. So maybe you have to have some sort of flag or something that's kind of covers it.
Sure.
So that your genitals are outside of your pants. But they are still concealed from
It's my closely held religious belief that that everyone else has to see them. This is the problem. Maybe not the children. Maybe the thing is that I can build a barrier that only someone above like 5'6" can see.
That seems like a reasonable accommodation.
Yeah.
And it's the least restrictive of the accommodation.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Right.
You can't. It's the least you guys can do for me. Now look at my balls. Look at them. I like the idea. Here's what I'm smelling off of this.
Okay.
I am smelling huge opportunity for a counterculture business to come in league with Lucian Greaves and the Satanic Temple.
Absolutely.
And just start denying people service. Offer something great. Offer something amazing.
Best pancakes in town.
And then just be like, oh, no Christians. We don't allow Christians.
Right.
We don't serve you.
Right. Well, I think it's I don't think you'd cause any great outrage by doing some sort of stunt where what you're trying to do is limit people access to something. I think it is more about walking around with, with your proverbial genitals hanging out.
It's something like that.
Right. Like that's what you have to do. You have to be trying to get away with something
right.
that is a violation of some sort of, simple little law somewhere.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
you don't want to actually go beat your wife and then claim that you're what verse in the Bible says that it's, totally cool. Right. Or,
it's required actually. I'm pretty sure
you're actually right. But they're saying that city clerks could refuse to marry interfaith couples,
of course,
if that was a problem for them,
or different
interracial couples.
Sure,
hotels could deny services to Jews.
Sure.
I don't know why that was so specifically stated.
Because of Jesus, his parents were Jews who were denied room in the inn.
Yes, indeed. It's a long-standing tradition of denying Jews place at hotels.
Right.
And then there's housing developments could keep people out for race.
Sure.
Pharmacies could refuse to dispense birth control.
Yeah. Or anything.
Schools could specifically allow anti-gay bullying.
Ooh, what if you got a Scientologist pharmacist? He could stop giving any antidepressants or any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So it's a problem. It's a problem for Georgia, and it's a problem in this nation that, I think I don't know what needs to change in the discussion about, or if anything could even change in the discussion about the expansion of rights for specifically the gay community, but for groups in general.
Sure.
To keep the more reactionary parts of our society from feeling like they're being specifically attacked. They feel attacked by gay rights.
Targeted.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's so completely the last thing I think on anybody's mind.
Right. Well, except for here's the thing. You tell any human being, and I mean you, me, I mean any human being, if you say, hey, your belief might be wrong.
Right.
The first impulse is, I'm under attack. That's just the human response to it instantly is to be like, how dare you? There's nothing about me that's wrong. Right. And then rational people go, wait, calm that little fight or flight, little reptilian mind of yours for just long enough to hear what they have to say.
Right.
Holy shit, that person's correct. I'm an idiot. Or whatever.
Right.
Or at least, let me come up with a rational reason why this may or may not be true.
Right.
So, but I think it's fair that I know that when someone challenges my beliefs, I'm getting much better at this as I get older and whatever. I'm much better at just being okay with my beliefs being challenged.
Really?
Sure.
You are?
Absolutely. Are you challenging that? Because I'm open to it. It's fine. I think so.
Really? Huh. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that.
Okay. I'd love to hear your argument about that. In the meantime,
we're modeling it.
We're modeling. Yeah, we're doing a good job.
Yeah.
That's for you kids. I don't know. I guess I get it. Especially when you've lived in a bubble your whole life where everybody believes the same as you.
And that's probably Georgia in a nutshell.
Yeah. Right? I mean, maybe outside of Atlanta.
Oh yeah. I'm not talking about Atlanta here.
Right.
I'm talking about Stone Mountain.
We're talking about Georgia. We're not talking about Atlanta. We're talking about Georgia. We're talking about just Dahlonega. Or I'm trying to think of other obscure parts of Georgia. Macon?
Yeah. That's a place. But isn't all of Georgia now a suburb of Atlanta?
Yeah.
Because that's some serious sprawl they've got going on there.
It's true. I think there are actually parts of Alabama and Tennessee that are also suburbs
Georgia
of Atlanta.
Or of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Parts of Atlanta.
Exactly.
I don't think that's true.
But none of Florida. They didn't get any of Florida.
Yeah.
Anyway, if y'all have some input on all of this, we'd love to hear it. You can write to us. That's podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail. The phone number is 424-666-8442.
We love it when you do that. Go to the Facebook page, too, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And also on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge.
I'm getting really good at being able to tell who's a real person and who's just trying to get into our lounge without even now. I don't even have to jump onto a lot of their their accounts to see. Ooh. I can just spot them.
Really,
they got their tricks. I know what I'm onto them.
Yeah. Are these people trying to get in for nefarious purposes? Yeah,
they're gonna spam you if you let them in.
Ew.
Yep.
No way.
So I'm vigilant. You have to request to be let in, and if I can't see enough about you, if you have blocked too much of your your profile, then it's a pain in my ass, because then I gotta email or I gotta message you and be like, hey, you tell me something about TGIA or I can't let you in. And that's just a pain.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to do it. And then you message me back, and then you're in.
Well, good.
It's so easy.
Oh, that's fantastic, Tim.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
This is, who was this again?
We got some Glenn Beck coming at you. He's very concerned. He's always very concerned.
Yesterday, I read a story about Elton John, who is upset at fashion designers Dolce & Gabbana. Dolce & Gabbana, like Elton John, are gay. They were a couple for a long time. They happen to have a different view on what the best family structure is. They believe that a child needs the mom and the dad, and they're opposed to artificial insemination. For simply stating that view, Elton John, who I think wrote a couple of songs about freedom, went after them and called on his army of fans and fellow celebrities to boycott them and destroy their business. Are you kidding me, man? Really? Is this the kind of freedom that we're at? Anyone who feels the same as Dolce & Gabbana, let me ask you, are they empowered to express their view, or are they now afraid that Hollywood and progressives will come after them? The party of progress is making progress indeed, back to the dark ages, back to the days when differing scientific views were labeled heresy and black magic. As the march towards conformity continues, America gets farther and farther away from the place where those who will change the world with art and science and music, those who will bring on the next Renaissance, just might find themselves locked up in a tower and sadly never paint the next Mona Lisa.
Oh, God.
I've been waiting for this next Mona Lisa for forever. I've been sitting around just where is that thing?
Mona Lisa Pas de.
It's locked in a tower.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Well, the artist is locked in a tower, unable to paint it.
Right.
It's so sad, dude.
It's shocking. It's shocking. The freedom. Where's the freedom?
Okay. We have... what? All I see are people having freedom here.
Right.
The Dolce & Gabbana, they said their thing.
They have the freedom to say it.
They said it. Elton John, he was free to say his thing.
Oh.
And then guess what? The public is free to decide whether Elton John or Dolce & Gabbana's full of shit or to not care at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Elton John is not calling for...
Who are you trying to muzzle here?
The government to, shut down D&G stores in the U.S. or whatever. He's not calling... He's just saying... I'm
not going to shop there anymore.
I'm going to go ahead and guess that Glenn Beck has called on people to vote with their wallets every so often.
I think that's a safe wager.
I think that he doesn't see it as an attack on freedom when it's on his side.
Exactly. And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
He just can't see beyond the end of his nose.
All of that being said, Dolce & Gabbana are kind of idiots.
Yeah.
They actually did, two gay men who were... Italy's different, as you well know.
Yeah.
But two gay men who are like, well, yeah, but I'm gay and I'd like to have kids, but I probably shouldn't because it's not natural or whatever.
Right.
You guys are dumb. Yeah, you're going to piss off Elton. Sir Elton's not, you're going to piss a couple people off.
Yeah. It's not the way to say what was on their mind at all.
Well, and it shouldn't be on their mind.
It shouldn't be on their mind.
They're dumb.
Right.
Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, it's easy enough to say, well, no, we're not interested in having kids.
Right.
Period.
And we move on.
Full stop.
Right.
Done.
Say those other things in the comfort of your own mansions. You're fine. You've got plenty of people who will listen to whatever you want to say.
But what was nice about the whole thing is that I actually found out that Dolce and Gabbana were actual people who are still alive.
Oh, okay. Yes. That much is true. It's somebody Dolce and somebody else Gabbana.
Wow. And they're still alive.
I'm going to guess one of them's named Fabio.
It's almost guaranteed.
Which one of you is Fabio? We are not Fabio. Yes, you are. We had some folks write in and call in to us.
Yeah, it's true.
Jessie wrote in.
Yeah.
She had a couple things to say. One of them is you and I, if you'll recall, had a little chat about chivalry.
Yes.
And whether that's the same as respect
okay.
and I insisted that holding open a car door for a woman is a relic of a non-equal time.
Yeah.
If it's specific to a woman.
Right.
So Jessie wrote and said, holding open a car door for a woman. I think I got thinking about the origins of this tradition, and I was wondering if maybe it had to do with a time before cars, when people would ride in horse-drawn carriages. Maybe a woman with her copious skirts and petticoats and things would physically have a tough time getting up into her seat without her man lending a hand. So picture this. All her life, this young lady has been getting help with her courtier or husband helping to launch her up into the carriage, and then the automobile is invented. On the day of her first car ride, does he just say, "You're on your own"? Seems kind of rude. You got me thinking about this tradition and where it might have come from, so I'm going with holdover from a different era. What do you think? So I think, who the hell cares where it came from? You're probably right. I mean, yes, it has to do with...
It seems like it just didn't spring up with the cars. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The question isn't where did it come from for me. The question is, why are we still doing it?
Why is it still here?
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
It's nice, Dan.
Well,
it's a nice thing to do.
I open the door for everybody. You know, when it's sort of
you're nice.
Convenient thing to do. Yeah, when it's a nice...
but you're nice when it's convenient.
Well, like,
is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying when it's more convenient, when I'm approaching from one side of a car and the other person's already on the other side of the car, it actually takes more time for me to cross around to the car and open the door and then cross all the way back around.
Let me be sure that that everybody understands that I think opening car doors for each other is just dumb.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've never opened a car door for anybody in your life.
Just dumb. Okay. Holding open a door, taking a step forward and pulling open a door, like a door going into a building.
Yeah.
That I think is a very nice, polite thing to do, but it doesn't necessarily need to happen by any one gender for any one gender.
Right. Absolutely.
It's a nice, polite thing to do.
I still open a car door, again, if my approach is from the passenger side. If we're both walking up and I'm on the passenger side, I'll unlock the car door and open it for whoever's getting in. I don't wait for them to get in and then close it necessarily, but I just do that just as a nice thing. Yeah. I had that one lovely awkward experience just the other day. I was going to a coffee shop and a woman opened the door and I was like, those awkward 20 paces still off.
Oh, don't.
And she didn't make a thing out of it. She just sort of nonchalantly stood there at the door holding it open.
Did you pick up your pace or did you just keep walking the same pace? What did you do?
I just kept walking the same pace.
Now, see, that's not the right thing to do. Well, you're supposed to pick up the pace at that point.
But here's the thing. I didn't realize what she was doing until because she wasn't even looking at me. She was just being really super nonchalant about it.
Oh, no.
So when I got up, I was like, wait a minute. were you holding that door open for me this whole time? And she was like, yep. And I was like, oh, you chivalrous lady, you. I said something a lot silly along those lines.
Right. It's hard to imagine.
Me being silly? That is hard to imagine. I'm usually such a serious man. Do you want to play a voicemail?
Yes, I do. I have Rebecca responding to something that we said about lesbians.
Okay.
Hey, Dan. This is Rebecca, one of your listeners. Maybe your last lesbian listener left after that last episode. However, I thought it was pretty funny. I wanted to propose a plurality of lesbians. I was thinking in the car on the way home from work listening to your podcast that maybe perhaps a group of lesbians should be called a process, harkening back to the lesbian ability to process. Anyway, I was just inspired to call and just let you know you do have at least one lesbian listener left, but you guys crack me up. Anyway, thank you.
Well, I'm glad to know that there's at least one.
At least one still hanging on.
Yeah, who can put up with us.
Yeah, a process of lesbians. So what we had been talking, we had been joking about lesbians, and then we couldn't come up with what a group of lesbians
Right, because
would
you have
be
a
called.
gaggle of gays.
A gaggle of gays,
Right,
yes. Yeah. And so we were trying to come up with the lesbian equivalent. We couldn't. So a process is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I'm not sure what processing you're referring to technically.
Yeah.
Lesbians'
Emotional
ability to
processing.
process.
But nonetheless,
but you have inspired us.
It has a certain ring to it. Like it sounds very natural.
It sounds real.
I could adopt that tomorrow, and it could just be
it could just be a thing.
A group of lesbians is in my mind.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. We've been inspired. We decided that we needed to come up
suggest
a few of our own.
Yeah, we're just gonna put more out there and just and let you all decide what you want, what you think a group of lesbians should be called. What do you got, Frank?
I have a flannel of lesbians.
A flannel of lesbians is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
A pretty good one. I came up with either a monogamy or a commitment of lesbians.
Ooh, both of those are really good. I like those. Okay. I have a buffet of lesbians.
Oh my God. We're going to lose our last lesbian. I decided that if there's a guitar within 3 miles, you could have a folk of lesbians or an indigo of lesbians.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, you're being much nicer than I am.
Don't worry, they get worse.
I have a softball team of lesbians.
Uh-huh. Sure.
That's a given.
That's just a thing. I said if they're around men who are hitting on them, a disappointment of lesbians.
I have a garage of lesbians.
Oh, I came up with the same one.
Are you serious?
I said if it's motorcycle season, it's either a garage or a rumble of lesbians.
And then my last one is a Sears of lesbians.
Oh my God. Which brings us to my last one, which is if they're listening to our show, a grump of lesbians.
Oh, I love
that may have been our first top 10 list, Frank. Oh my God.
Oh, that was fun.
That was good. I'm going to switch to another email before anybody processes that. Process that, lesbians. This is from Rabbi Gruber.
Oh, hey.
Our good friend Rabbi Gruber, who wrote in, he said, the Humanist Society, he's actually referring to, he's writing in reference to when we were talking about Oklahoma and their bill to get rid of marriage licenses completely.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right.
He says, hey, guys, the Humanist Society, an affiliate of the American Humanist Association, certifies humanist celebrants. Each celebrant goes through a serious certification process, unlike the Universal Life Church. There are obviously less humanist celebrants in the South, and Oklahoma has none. The closest humanist celebrant in Oklahoma is me. So, if the crazy lawmakers there pass the law you discussed, have no fear. I will happily officiate for all Oklahoma atheists.
That's wonderful.
Oh, Rabbi Gruber. You can find Rabbi Gruber. I'm going to just plug his website.
You might as well. Yeah.
At interfaithweddingrabbi.net.
Yeah. Fantastic.
He went with the .net.
Maybe the .com, the interfaith weddingrabbi.com was already taken.
Okay, well, there you go.
So.
And rabbi, in case you don't know, is rabbit without the T.
Oh, yeah.
For spelling purposes.
Yes, in fact. All right.
Do we have another
We do. This is Chad. Chad is responding. We've sort of made it official policy here at TGIA that when the Mormon missionaries show up at your door, put them to work. And so Chad's chiming in on that.
Great.
Hey, Frank and Dan, this is Chad from South Carolina. Listening to a recent podcast, and you mentioned the Mormon missionary labor corps, essentially, and it made me think of a time that my ex-wife used the Mormon missionary labor corps to take all of the cabinet doors out of the kitchen, paint them, and then hang them back up later. Granted, she was doing so as a counter apologetic evangelical Christian mission tour. So you had two combative ideologies going on there. But yeah, we've used the Mormon Missionary Labor Corps in the past. Highly recommended. I would give it a 10. Would do it again. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
It's brilliant.
It's really smart.
I mean, obviously, just trying to get them to believe what you believe is dumb. That's not going to help anything. But I tell you what, screw going to the Home Depot and picking up some actual laborers who will require payment. Just call the Mormons.
Yeah, the missionaries should actually just stand out in front of Home Depot. They could bust up that whole system. They could just offering free labor.
What I don't think we want is them ruining it for some nice men who need work.
I guess that is kind of what I was suggesting there, wasn't it? That's
Anyway.
not nice of me. Damn it.
Coca wrote into us. Frank doesn't think your name is real, by the way, Coca. She wrote in and said, "Hey, I just had to write and tell you that I've recently noticed how good looking you two are.
Hey.
I haven't seen very many pics in the past, so please post more. You're both hot. That's all I have to say."
Well, thank you, Coca.
She said,
wow.
And the beginning of this next paragraph initially made me worried. She said, "Actually, that's not true." I was like, "Oh, we're not hot?"
Oh, yeah.
But she said, "No, I love your podcast." So what she's referring to is that's not all she has to say. Yeah. Took me a second.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, that's not true. I love your podcast, particularly because you don't take yourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
I haven't donated in the past, but when I think about how much I spend on Starbucks and Chipotle, I guess I can send some your way every month.
Oh.
We'll definitely be checking out your merch, too. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you, Coca.
And she did check out our merch.
She did.
She ended up
a shirt.
ordering a T-shirt,
Yeah.
and she also is now a monthly subscriber.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Coca.
So thank you so much. Also in our monthly donor list on PayPal, Willow has joined up the ranks of our of our monthly donors. They did not. These two did not opt to go to join up as part of the Joyride campaign,
which is
just fine.
It's,
absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's whichever one works better for you.
So we have been trying to get people onto the Joyride thing. What's the tally there? What do we got?
Well, we have 3 new members as of our recording. And that brings us up to $3.39 a month. Or was it $3.39 a month? $3.36 a month, meaning we're $14 away from our goal.
From our first
goal of $3.50 a month. And at that point, we're going to do an upgrade of our studio and kind of fix some things that are breaking around here.
Right.
And so, it's incredible. We love the support. And the 3 new donors this week are David, Kelsey, and Hal. That brings the tally, the women to men tally.
Oh, yeah.
Up 17 women and 23 men.
Oh.
So thank you, David and Hal. You're making it harder for the women to get their ladies only Google Hangout.
Right.
Boy, my brain's just not firing today.
Can I point something out to all of you listeners out there? On Joyride, we are currently on their homepage. If you go to getjoyride.com, you'll see our logo among two others. One of the other ones is Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
Ooh.
That's Law of Attraction, my understanding is pseudoscience bullshit. And I want to beat them. And on the other side of us, so that's on one side of us. On the other side of us is the UFO podcast.
Right.
And we're beating the law of attraction, but she just looks like she just got started. This UFO podcast is kicking our asses, and we cannot allow it. This must not stand. Ladies and gentlemen.
You know he listens to us, right?
Good. He should donate. Get on it, Martin.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Anyway, if you want to join the ranks of the good people who are making this podcast happen, please go to thankgodimatheist.com and click on the Joyride link.
Awesome. Yeah, I concur.
Yeah.
All right. So what's next? That got us through everything?
I think we're through.
Okay.
We made it. We did it. Now we can just stop the show.
No,
we're
there's
talking about so much
how
more.
dumb we atheists are. We're just dumb. We have terrible arguments.
This has come up so many times.
Apparently, they're really common, and because there's all these lists about the 10 most common atheist arguments and why they fail.
I've been seeing this, on the Facebook, at the TGIA members only lounge.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people have been posting these a ton of different links about the atheism's biggest flaws and atheism's arguments don't work, and here let us show you why. These are all sort of Christian generated articles about what we believe. And why it's wrong.
What we don't believe.
And why it doesn't work. And of course, you're getting, what we're getting is an army of straw men.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, a straw man argument is you take your opponent's argument, or you attribute to your opponent an argument that they don't use, an argument that they don't forward.
Right.
And then you take it down.
Right. Because it's, and it's easy to take it down because you're putting up a weak argument.
Right, exactly. You're putting up an argument that that your opponent has nothing to do with.
Right.
And then being like, look at how easy it was for me to take them down. So easy.
Or an argument or it smacks of an argument. It has that sort of sense of being very close to what you might hear people in the atheist community throw around as comments that they make, or
it may even have like the same verbiage, just slightly altered.
Right.
So for instance,
or they make a big assumption about what it means.
Right.
And tear down their assumption. But anyway.
So for instance, I've got one pulled up, and this one, the one that I chose, is one of the ones that has sort of, to me, it's one of the better ones. It's one of the ones where they're actually less disingenuous than most. But they're still totally disingenuous. So their first one is atheism isn't a belief, but the lack of a belief. Now, this is tricky for me because I believe that atheism isn't a belief.
Right.
And there's been a lot of arguing about that.
Okay.
Even among atheists lately. I've been seeing it pop up a lot, where atheists are saying atheism actually is a belief, and we need to stop saying that. And here's where they're coming from.
Okay.
They're coming from the idea that even though atheism, the concept of atheism has no belief in a God, most atheists believe that there is no God.
Okay.
Do you see the difference there? Do you see what we've done here?
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. This guy says that this is what he calls the single definition of atheism. This Christian guy, he says, that we atheists like to use this definition because we feel that it protects us from certain criticisms the Christians are bringing against us. For example, if atheism is a lack of a belief, then atheists can't be criticized for believing anything. I think that it's,
but we're not a cohesive community that has we don't have prescribed beliefs.
we don't have a system.
We don't have a system. There's no doctrine and dogma, associated with an atheist, like members of our fellow members of the atheist community. There's just nothing like that ties us together.
Well, this guy would challenge that too. His point number 2 is that atheists make is, quote, atheism is not or has no philosophy. And he says, this is not true because, and the way he says it is wrong. His argument's actually stupid, but it put me into the mind of something that might be a valid argument, which is that while atheists don't have a philosophy per se, a unifying philosophy,
right? I
would say most atheists would believe that government should be secular, that government should be non-theistic in its approach to governing.
Sure,
that to me is a philosophy. Right. I think that there are political philosophies associated that we could say are pretty universal to atheists. I mean, that's more of a fairness philosophy. That's more of an inclusiveness philosophy than it is.
But any of these, I mean, I don't know. So I just see that this lack of any kind of central anything, right?
Right.
Because of that, to be an atheist, all you have to do is not believe in God.
Right.
That's all you have to do.
Or don't have, and it's not even a God. It's just don't have any belief specifically in any specific God.
Right.
And that's enough to make you an atheist.
That makes you an atheist. And so you can then, from there, go nuts.
Yeah, from that point.
That you have to do after that point to make you an atheist.
Right. An atheist could believe that oppression is good and that a giant pickle monster lives under the sea.
But just because we all recognize that we have that certain issues are in our best interest.
Right.
Right. So living in a secular society is in our best interest.
Right.
Right. But I wasn't told that by some atheist, preacher.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. No, clearly that's just in my best interest. Just like being a member of any group, right?
Right.
Any non-religious group.
Yeah. It's not
you can identify what is in your best interest. If you're a group of dentists,
it's not like white folks have meetings about what's in our best interest.
Right. We just know.
We just seem to have a pretty good handle on it.
Exactly. Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so I think that you've found the hole in his argument.
Yes.
Well done. Why don't you bring up another straw man?
Let me see.
Because you've got a precious little article in front of you.
Mine is super precious. Believing in God is the same as believing in the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, and the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Okay,
that's what he's saying.
We say
the atheists say, and this is like our big argument.
And what does he have to say about that?
He says, what I love about this well-worn atheist argument is that it actually serves to demonstrate how vastly different a belief in God is to these myths and imaginations. When one honestly assesses the Judeo-Christian doctrine of God, he will find multiple thousands of years of human testimony and religious development. He will find martyrs enduring the most horrific trauma in defense of the faith. He will find accounts in religious texts with historical and geographical corroboration, etc. These facts are, of course, not proofs, but rather evidences that elicit strong consideration. Pit this against tales of the Tooth Fairy, Santa, and spaghetti monsters, and one finds the exact opposite. No testimony or religious refinements, no martyrs, no historical and geographical corroboration, etc. Instead, one finds myths created intentionally for children, for point-making, or for whatever. It's straw man argumentation at its worst.
He's accusing us of the straw man.
Yes.
Yeah. in this case, I don't think he's set up a straw man because I've heard plenty of atheists say that.
I have, yeah.
What he's saying, and what my guy says too. Interesting that they would make the same argument. It's almost as if they've all read each other. He is this idea that testimonials from other folks are evidence.
Right.
And that's a thing to them. That's and that's not a thing. You know, the fact that 1 million people have believed. However, one of the problems that they expose themselves to with that argument is, well, if the number of people who have said it's true is meaningful,
right,
I'm gonna have to go with like either Hinduism or Taoism.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're kicking your ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, and like,
or Buddhism,
yeah,
something like that.
The problem that I have with him picking this up as, you know, one of his like, this is what atheists always argue, blah 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 blah, and it's like, but I like when I hear this argue, this isn't an argument for atheism.
No, this is to point out a hole in their thinking.
Exactly.
But I mean, it does point out. I mean, it is a hole in their thinking. The truth is that, like, however, I mean, I guess you and I think we as atheists should probably lay off of that one.
I've always been a little uncomfortable with it, to be honest.
It's not the same.
No.
They're right that like the historical context of it means something.
They need what I think atheists need to start doing is, instead of talking about the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, or the Easter Bunny, you hear that one thrown in.
Yeah.
We should actually throw in actual deities that are revered by other religions.
Right. Yeah. Don't say Tooth Fairy and Easter Bunny. Say Vishnu.
Yeah.
Say any other god.
Right.
That's common. Say Allah.
Or bring up the Greek gods.
Sure.
Those were actually venerated gods that people believed existed. Right. But bringing up something like the Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus, it actually, talk about putting somebody completely on the defensive.
Right. You're basically saying, look at how silly you are.
Yeah. It's demeaning. It's not a nice argument.
Well, I think that's what's appealing about it.
That is what it's appealing. But if we're trying to be nicer atheists,
which some of us are,
which we're trying.
You and I are trying to be nice.
We're trying to be nice atheists.
There are plenty of atheists that aren't trying to be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you, dear listener, are one of these people who's trying to be nice, it's not about the Tooth Fairy.
Right.
It's not about the Easter Bunny. It's
right.
about, if you want to go down this path of this kind of argument of like, well, what about belief in other gods, and how do you explain away those other gods so easily? And why should I trust you and your God when they're, like you said, if it's just a numbers game, you know, millions, hundreds of millions of adherents of other, billions other religious, you know, traditions
that go back even further than Christianity,
that are older, and so historically have had more.
Right, exactly.
You know,
and so yeah, one of the arguments that I
still don't think it's a great argument, but
yeah, you got to be
if you're having that discussion, then don't be dismissive.
Right. I do. It is interesting. I've seen Christians talk about how. So one of the things that that atheists, where is it? I swear that it was on this. I was trying to let this guy speak for himself on this one, and I can't find the argument that he's saying atheists say, which is the concept that that if you had, you know, the fact that you are a Christian is because you were born into a Christian society.
Oh, that was one of mine.
Oh, that was one. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, again, this is where it becomes applicable. I mean, they're saying, well, that means that demeans my ability to think and reason.
Right.
Well, no, it doesn't. Right. It's just a fact.
Yeah. If you were born Hindu.
If you were born into a Hindu family, I guess a what? I don't know why an Italian has to answer that. But you're going to be Hindu. That's just math. Just look at the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a coincidence that all the Hindus happen to be born in the same area and all the Christians happen to be born in the same area and all the Jews? I mean,
it's how God set the whole thing up.
God's like, send another Jew kid down to that family and we'll send a Christian kid over to, oh, shoot, I put that Christian into a Hindu family. Well, he'll find his way out.
He'll figure it out.
And
Go wondering.
Right, exactly. He'll be the weirdo of the family. That'll fuck him up. Oh shit! I keep sending atheists down into all of these families.
Shit. Well, here's another one. Christianity arose from an ancient and ignorant people who didn't have science. That's what he's saying. We say.
That we say.
And so he says, indeed, those ancient ignorant people who believed in the virgin birth of Christ must have believed it because they did not possess the knowledge of how babies were born. Goodness, the virgin birth of Christ was profound and of paramount concern to the ancients precisely because they understood that conception was impossible without intercourse. I really don't get what he thinks.
Well, I love that
because going on
because
here.
Yes, so the headline doesn't have the straw man. The headline has the actual argument,
right?
Which is, we're looking at Bronze Age philosophy and trying to call it real,
right?
But then he's like, but look, of course they understand birth,
right?
Well, yeah, they understood birth. They didn't understand like lightning. So when that started crashing down around them, they were terrified, and they just decide, oh, that's God, or oh, that's this or that. You know, when it wouldn't rain enough for the crops, well, we've pissed God off, so we better do something nice, you know, and burn an animal to make him happy.
Well,
but again, that's the thing.
Happy, so.
That's the thing. They take an argument that's real, and then they throw in the straw man just to make sure that it's easy to take down.
Indeed.
The burden of proof, this guy says, is on the theists. I've heard that many times from atheists' mouths, that the burden of proof is on the theists. He says, no, it isn't. While the burden of proof might vary depending on whether you're talking about science or law, in almost all instances, the burden of proof lies with the deviation from the norm. A man who claims he can run a mile in 1 minute, while the world's best athletes can't break the 3-minute mark, has the burden of proving that he can do it. Right now, about 90% of the world's population believe that there is a supreme being. I question that figure. Plus, throughout known history, even back to the days of the caveman, humans have believed in some sort of God. These points are enough to clearly establish theism as the normal state. It is therefore up to the atheists to make their case for the deviation. Well, no, incorrect. His runner is makes our point for us, which is that it's not about what's deviating from the norm. It's about who's making a positive claim.
Yeah.
And if you are making a positive claim that there is a thing, then the burden of proof is on you to back up that claim with evidence.
Yeah, we're not saying that there's anything.
We're not saying there is or isn't. We're just saying I see no evidence for it, and until I do, I will withhold belief.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So nothing to prove or disprove.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm not making a claim here.
No.
You're making a claim.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
There's this magical guy who like does shit for you and created the planet.
Grants wishes, but only sometimes, and not really. But we're pretty sure he does.
Right.
And
but it's our responsibility to show that he's not there.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Nope. Yeah.
Sorry, dude. That's not how it works.
You've got it wrong. It's just so weird. What I have found that's interesting is that it's more fun for me to read. If I'm going to read these articles, it's more fun for me to try and figure out what they've got right than what they've got wrong. Like, if they can challenge me, I'm actually interested. If they can actually, like, come up with something that's good, suddenly I'm like, oh, good for you guys. I will not use that argument anymore because you've actually taken it down a little bit. Sort of thing. Like what we were saying about the flying spaghetti monster or the tooth fairy or whatever.
Right.
That's a great thing to learn. Don't use that. They're much better. Use Thor. It's much better. Use Vishnu. Use Krishna.
Yeah.
Do you have any more that you wanted to bring up that made you giggle?
I thought this one, not even so much making me giggle. This one, I was almost surprised to see it on the list.
Right.
And he says that atheists go around saying that history is full of mother-child messiah cults, Trinity godheads, and the like. Thus, the Christian story is a myth, like the rest. And yes, we say that. Mm-hmm. That's something very similar has come out of my mouth.
Right.
And he says this argument seems insurmountable on the surface, but is really a slow pitch across the plate. There is no arguing the fact that history is full of similar stories found in the Bible, and I won't take the time to recount them here. But this fact should not be surprising in the least. Indeed, if history had no similar stories, it would be reason for concern. Anything beautiful always has replicas. A counterfeit coin does not prove the non-existence of the authentic coin. It proves the exact opposite. 1,000 U2 cover bands is not evidence that U2 is a myth. But does that address the fact that some of these stories were told before the biblical accounts? True. But imagine if the only story of a messianic virgin birth, death, and resurrection were contained in the New Testament, that to me would be odd. It would be odd because if all people everywhere had God as their creator, yet the central event of human history, the game-changing event of all the ages, the incarnation, death, and resurrection of Christ, had never occurred to them in at least some hazy form, they would have been completely cut off from the prime mysteries of human existence.
What?
It seems only natural that if the advent of Christ was real, it would permeate through the consciousness of mankind on some level, regardless of their place in history.
Before it happens. Oh my God.
One should expect to find mankind replicating these stories found in their own visions and dreams again and again throughout history. And indeed, that is what we find. But what is it? But I will add to this, what is interesting is that the mother-child messiah cults in particular were something that was a phenomenon in that one specific region for a specific period of time.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah. They were happening all over the place.
But it wasn't like, it's not like the Incas.
No.
No.
Or the Hindus.
Or the Hindus.
Or the Chinese. Or whatever.
You look around the world at everybody and not be quite so, focused on one little part of the world. And I'm sorry, the whole thing just falls all apart.
And I'm going to start counterfeiting coins on the hope that eventually the real coin will actually pop up.
Well, because the thing is, if that coin is supposed to pop up, it should already sort of be resonating in your mind.
It's in the collective unconscious.
It's already there, just waiting to be plugged.
I'm just going to start counterfeiting different money than what's actually being currently produced.
Put your face on it.
I'll be president someday. You never know.
Well, you won't be, but
I know you won't vote for me.
That's actually a really good question. Would I vote for you?
Better not answer. It's probably best not to. That's amazing. Wow, the mental twists and turns that guy had to go through to get to that. No, it's more faith promoting if it did happen that way.
And you just see the people's heads in the audience. Oh yeah.
I just as you're reading it,
he's so smart.
And I was feeling so smart because I'm like, I know the counter. I mean, God, it just happens beforehand. And then suddenly he's like, but what if it happens beforehand? It's even better. It makes more sense now.
It's like every argument that you could ever possibly make.
Yeah,
is the best thing that ever happened.
Right. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, well, no, that's just proof that it is true.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? How could that be proof that it's true?
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. There are so many of these articles out here. We started to watch a video that Russell Brand made.
God, no.
That was like him countering Stephen Fry. And Russell Brand annoys me anyway, but oh my God, I was just like, get to a point ever. So we just turned it off. But he's doing the same thing. I mean, it's a very interesting thing. We just thought we'd throw it out there. Be on the lookout for the straw men of the world. But you know what? In the end, they don't really mean anything.
Nah.
This is not a. I have decided I am against debating with theists. There's just no point to it.
There's no point.
You will never achieve much of anything. Maybe you know, Matt Dillahunty, when he was on our show, he said that he's had people tell him that, you know, his debates were the reason why somebody came out of, you know, figured out not to be theist anymore. That's fine.
Yeah.
But for every one of those, there's a dozen who are put off by it, I think, or who dig in their heels. I just think, be you.
Yeah.
You know, if someone have a good conversation about it.
Right.
Don't debate.
Here's the deal.
But don't allow any straw man either.
Right. I'm not going to I'm not going to be one who's out, you know, doing what Matt Dillahunty's doing.
Sure. First of all, we wouldn't be as good at it as he is.
That is, I mean, he's great at it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to discount what his experiences have been.
No.
He's had people come up and tell him that. I think that's great.
I believe him.
He's out there doing the good work the way that he sees his role as being. And I applaud him for it. So
I guess that's true. I mean, and especially if it's on a college campus or whatever, that's more interesting to me.
Yeah.
But like face to face with another person, first of all, just don't let anybody get away with straw man arguments. Learn the fallacies, people.
Yeah.
And don't let them get away with it. But
Dear
also,
God, no.
you don't need to challenge them. You can gently just declare your own belief. And just try to get them at least to understand your perspective. It's not about making them believe it. Why don't we just try to understand each other?
Yeah.
You can even listen to them.
Ask honest questions.
What? No, I won't do it.
And this is why I'm not voting for you, Dan.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. My campaign is no honest questions.
All right. Well, if you'd like to chime in,
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have shit to say about this. I'm sure.
Send us your best strawman.
Yeah. If you guys have seen some good strawman arguments out there, send them on in. The way to reach us is to write into the podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
You can always leave us a voicemail by dialing 424-666-8442.
We love it when you do that.
We sure do.
It's great. You can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Or also on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. It is a closed group, so you have to request to join, and then you get approved.
Yeah.
Because you're a listener, and you'll be a real atheist.
Yeah, that's what we do. We let you in if you're a listener. Go to thankgodimatheist.com.
Yes.
And click on the Joyride button and pony up. Pay your tithing, people.
That's a commandment from Dan.
That is.
Right there.
Just help us to make this show the best that it can be, and
We're
be a
working
part
hard
of it.
on it, and
we appreciate
we want it to be better
so much. What you guys are giving.
Absolutely.
It's great.
All right.
And thanks to Mackenzie for all the hard work she does on the Facebook page.
And of course, thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music.
And thank you guys for all listening to us. We sure do think you're peachy.
Bye-bye.